Olá pessoal, tudo bem? Quando a gente pensa em inovação, normalmente a gente considera os aspectos técnicos disso. Mas cada vez mais nós observamos empresas de diferentes setores e de diferentes portes, aí desde big techs até startups, considerando também o aspecto humano envolvido na inovação, principalmente questões ligadas à diversidade, inclusão e pluralidade. Eu sou Paulo Silvestre, consultor de mídia, cultura e transformação digital, e vou conduzir agora aqui um debate exatamente sobre isso. E para nos ajudar a compreender melhor, está comigo a Shuchi Sharma, que é vice-presidente global de diversidade, equidade e inclusão na Red Hat, que é a líder mundial no fornecimento de soluções open source empresariais. A Shuchi possui 17 anos de experiência com ações para o desenvolvimento de diversidade e na promoção de minorias em diversos setores. Recentemente, inclusive, ela foi indicada como uma das 50 líderes do futuro pelo jornal Financial Times. Suchi, thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to have you here talking to us.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much, Paulo.
Very well. So, my first question to you is, how can technology and innovation benefit from diversity and inclusion?
That's a great question. And if you think about what technology is all about, technology is the essence of innovation, right? We are always using technology to create new and different ways of doing things that advance people's abilities, make their lives better. I'll give you an example. We talk about accessibility a lot, and it's not always common for companies to pay attention to accessibility and the role that it plays in innovation. But if you think about some of the major innovations that have impacted our lives today, do you remember the Walkman, for example?
Mm-hmm.
The Walkman was created out of a need for accessibility. The Walkman
really?
And the headphones. Things like the curb of the street that a wheelchair can move up on.
Mm-hmm.
You're familiar with this?
Yes.
This now became useful for people with bicycles, for people with babies. So
Exactly.
many of the common innovations, things that we take for granted, came out of needs for accessibility. When you consider the needs of your most marginalized populations, oftentimes, and you meet their needs, oftentimes you create value for everyone in society. And we also bring different perspectives, different ideas, and those different perspectives and ideas allow us to create different ways of doing things that ultimately drive innovation in society.
That's great. And a recent report from Boston Consulting Group indicated that companies with more diverse leadership have 19% higher revenues due to innovation. Could you say that diversity and inclusion became a competitive advantage to companies?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are over 200 studies that prove your point. And there are so many examples. We see that diverse groups make better decisions, that we have increase in profits, as you stated. So it certainly is a competitive advantage, because when you have more diverse perspectives and different ideas that are being brought into how you make decisions every day, you see much different outcome than when you have only a homogeneous group doing things the same way, thinking the same way. They don't produce as many new and different ideas. But you need to have some clear elements in place. When you have a diverse group, you need to have a culture of inclusion, a culture of belonging, because even with diversity in place, one has to feel psychologically safe in order to really bring that creativity forward and take the risks that are necessary
That's
to
the
drive
difference
innovation.
of diversity and inclusion, that's right?
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. But both are very important.
We need to have both.
Always.
All right. Mm-hmm. And what are some companies that you could mention that you consider that they are already matured on the concept?
Many companies are at different points in their journey, Paulo, and I would say companies that have invested for a long time in the DEI space are definitely more mature simply because of the time they've had to evolve. Companies like IBM, Salesforce, SAP, Coca-Cola, have all made great strides in diversity, but the one important point I'd like to share is that no matter where you are on your journey, organizations that dedicate resources to DEI and consider it as a function of their business tend to have more success, simply because the minute you take your foot off the gas pedal, if you don't keep focused, just like anything else, you will regress and lose some of the progress you may have made. It's the same as in any other function of the business. So, for example, if you meet your sales goals, you don't stop selling.
Mm-hmm.
DEI is the exact same way.
Mm-hmm. Great comparison. Very good. And well, you were in Red Hat for 1.5 years, that's right, or about something like that. And Red Hat is an open source company. And the open source movement, it inspires people, inspires companies. We have open business several ways, right? How is that connected to diversity and inclusion? I mean, how that concept helps setting a new mindset for leaders and their teams?
We believe that the best ideas can come from anywhere. And that is the essence of open source, as well as the essence of inclusion. When you can harness those ideas and use them and embed them in technology or in our development processes, we have the opportunity to create what has never been done before. And that is very different from non-open source organizations. We have access to talent all over the world, and all of that talent is influenced by different lived experiences that create new and allow us to create new and different ways of doing things. And I think that is an understanding and a mindset that helps us be a more inclusive organization.
Mm-hmm. According to predictions from McKinsey, technology environment, IT environment, we will experience a great change of mindset in the next few years, thanks to a more collaborative and social policies. How can leadership create an inclusive culture and empower minorities in the teams?
If I can share 2 simple things that every leader can do that will answer your question. The first is to listen. Really listen to your employees and understand what their experience is, because you will find new and different perspectives in those experiences, especially the ones that are different from yourself. And validate their shared experiences. Help them understand that those experiences, even though they may be so different and sometimes difficult, are very, very important for your organization, your team, and really the world at large.
Do you see the leadership are ready for that mostly? How do you see that happening in companies?
It's an excellent question. I think management as a function has really changed. We've moved from a command and control mindset to a more distributed, matrixed environment in corporate culture to a very hybrid and virtual management culture. And managers through these transitions have to learn very new skills. And so today's leaders who really excel are going to be more coach-oriented, which requires a lot more listening, and they are going to be more of a service mindset. How can I serve my employees to help them be successful?
That's great.
That mindset of, if they win, I win, needs to be part of our leadership mindset.
Okay. And about Red Hat, I'd like to focus on Red Hat now. Which social programs and diversity initiatives Red Hat has been involved in recent years?
In the past, Red Hat has been very involved in a lot of social initiatives around increasing our STEM pipeline and in serving communities where we know there are needs across countries like North America, for example, India. I would say our shift in the DEI area is focused on our own employees or associates and ensuring that they have a very equitable experience. We are looking at building long-term sustainable change into our talent processes to ensure that our associates have a more fair, more transparent, and more equitable experience to drive more access to opportunities for all.
Okay. And one last question. Speaking of Red Hat presence in Latin America, and in fact, the IT market in general, what's the importance of female representatives as role models in order to inspire other women to a market that is so male? How can that change and impact the business?
I would say it's very important. It's hard to do things that you cannot see, that you cannot envision. So when you can see other women in leadership positions as a minority, it makes it much more real and more possible for you to imagine yourself doing that. And so for that reason, female leaders are very important role models to driving and bringing more women into technical companies, software companies. And we also need to increase awareness that not all roles in software companies are technically oriented. A person can work in tech and do many different things across all of the business functions. But having those role models is so important to just create a vision and see what is possible.
But about the business itself, the presence of more women in IT, what do you say would be the most benefits for the business?
Everything we have already talked about in terms of having different perspectives, better decision making, more empathy for your customers, understanding of different ways of doing things. For example, perhaps a woman who is a single mother. Now, sometimes society will stigmatize single mothers, but if you think about it, single mothers are incredibly resilient. They always have a backup plan. They are persistent. They have to solve problems creatively. Aren't those qualities we want to have in our business?
All kind of business.
Every business
That's right.
needs people who have those qualities.
Yes.
So what a great place to find them.
You're completely right. Okay, Shuchi, I guess that's it. Thank you very much for your time, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Paulo. It's a really pleasure to talk to you today.
All right. Thank you. Pois é, pessoal, se alguém ainda não entendia como diversidade e inclusão pode ajudar na inovação, aí está a resposta. Quero agradecer a todos que participaram aqui conosco e se você estiver vendo aqui gravado isso, você ainda pode deixar suas perguntas que elas vão ser encaminhadas, tá? Aliás, aproveite e sigam a Red Hat nas diferentes redes sociais. Muito obrigado, ficamos aqui com essa transmissão e até uma próxima ocasião. Eu sou Paulo Silvestre, consultor de mídia, cultura e transformação digital. Um abraço, tchau!